Can you imagine that one day you declare your love to your worst enemy and ask her to be your girlfriend, and surprisingly she says yes, and in the end you end up sleeping together? Well, that will never happen to me. The anime begins by introducing us to two clans that fight each other. First, there is the leader of the first year of the Black Doggies House of Inuzuka, Romio, and then there's the first year leader of the White Cats of Persia, Juliet. The two, after declaring war, make those of their group attack each other. Then they explain to us about the academy, Dahlia, a prestigious boarding school where students from the eastern nation Touwa and the western principality study. However, the students of the student territory, Touwa Black Doggy House, and those in the western student dormitory White Cat's House are in confrontation day after day. Returning to the fight from before, Persia feels that Inuzuka is making fun of her by not facing her with all her strength for being a girl, but they are interrupted by the prefect of the White Cats, who also threatens Inuzuka with calling the prefect of the Black Doggies. Then in the end, everything calms down and everyone goes their own way. Later on, the Black Doggies talk about how the prefects are the highest authority when it comes to supervising students, and that if they have their eyes on you, it's not time for fights. Then we see that Inuzuka complains alone because he doesn't know what to do, telling that they've been fighting since elementary school and since middle school, and even now in high school they haven't progressed at all, and that he's always loved Persia, and because of that, he doesn't want to fight, but just wants to make sure she doesn't get hurt by others. Then he thinks about what he should do, fearing confessing and it going wrong, deciding in the end to make an acknowledgement. On the other hand, Persia is practicing kendo but recognizes that she's not strong yet and that the strength she aspires to is enough for her to be able to change the world, and that she really feels that way, and that's why she can't allow herself to be underestimated. Suddenly, she shows herself quite angry with Inuzuka since he contains himself and mocks her, exclaiming that she will never forgive him. Just at that moment, Inuzuka was listening, who, despite not understanding what she was saying, knew that they were talking about him, and seeing Persia so upset, he comes to think that maybe getting along with enemies is impossible. After that, he sees some men from White Cats grabbing some kids from Black Doggies Elementary School. There he tries to stop them, but as soon as Persia approaches, he quickly hides. These guys explain to her that those kids sprayed graffiti on the White Cat house. The boy explains that they did that because some kids from the White Cats made fun of them and called them weak, but when he responds in a bad way, Persia's men throw the boy to the ground. Persia agrees with him by telling him that they are weak, and that simply cornering does not equal retaliation and will not help his friends when they are in trouble. This makes the boy angry and he lunges at her, then Persia makes him see that he can do it and that is strength. After that, she cleans his blood and sends him home, clarifying that next time there will be no jokes when they fight and that she will face him whenever she wants, and finally she reprimands her men, asking them if they will let a child bother them. Well, if you are a White Cat, you must have high standards. Inuzuka, seeing that side of her, is illuminated, realizing that he was dragged into that esteem of Persia and must tell her what he feels, and that he must find courage, although first he will do in secret. He then wonders why they are looking at him, and it is because he is standing right in front of them, and he has not noticed. This makes Persia stand on guard, but he clarifies that he does not want to fight, although he gets stuck when he wants to tell her his true intentions. He suddenly realizes that she is very close, and from the quick reaction, he answers that he has come to complain so that he can then flee at full speed, and that causes Persia to get angry with him again, since he only came to bother her. Now we are introduced to three friends of the Black Doggies, Chizuru Maru, Kento, and Kohitsuji. They had investigated Persia and discovered when she would be alone so that they could attack her, and Kohitsuji gives Kento a mask to go undercover. As they approach from behind, they surprise Persia, but it turns out that the two of them are blinded and suffocated, since it seems that using plastic bags as masks is not a good plan. This allows her to defeat the two of them, but suddenly Maru sprays a Sprite in her face and ends up capturing her, even unbuttoning her clothes. At that moment, Inuzuka launches himself at her to go through the bush, leaving the two of them alone, while the boys believe that he wants to take the glory. When she wakes up, she steps back scared when she sees Inuzuka, and this scares him since surely Persia thinks that he was the one who attacked her. There he tries to clarify the misunderstanding, but he shuts up when he sees that she begins to cry, and then he runs away. Then Inuzuka beats the three of them up for the mess he has gotten them into. Suddenly, an arrow with a letter crashes on Maru's head, and when Inuzuka reads it, he sees that Persia invites him to meet alone at the fountain. Once there, he gets her with two swords. What she does is ask him if he attacked her before or if he was trying to save her, and if he was attacking her to prepare to fight, and if he was saving her to tell her why. Inuzuka starts to think, since he can't tell her, that the reason is because he loves her, because his heart isn't ready for that. But he tells her that he saved her purely out of pity, but for her it's the same as being attacked. She says that she doesn't want anyone to feel sorry for her, especially him, that he may be selfish, but she considers him a rival, and that she can't stand being seen as weak by him. Inuzuka answers that he doesn't think that, but Persia asks him not to lie because he always contains himself when he attacks her and tries to avoid fighting her, and that means that he's making fun of her. There, Inuzuka remembers something, that the Western Principality still has a noble class. Persia is the only daughter of the Count, but the titles and fortunes are only inherited by men, and that at that rate, a family could lose everything it has. She then understands that she wants strength, so as not to lose against men, intelligence, so as not to be looked down upon by the nobles, and influence so that no one disobeys her to change the rules of that world. After that, Inuzuka tells her that he is not going to hold back and starts a duel with her by clashing swords. Inuzuka tells her with all of his breath that he loves her and also asks her to go out with him, which leaves her all blushing. Inuzuka loves her, and that is why he has not fought with her seriously, and that he saved her because he loves her, and clarifies that if she is by his side, she can change that world. After listening to him, he tells her to shut up and throws Inuzuka into the fountain and answers that there is no way that she can do something so ambitious on her own, and that is why she will help him by accepting to go out with him, but that he must show her that he can change the world. Upon hearing her, Inuzuka breaks down in tears, explaining that he did not believe that she would accept and that he thought that she hated him. She answers that she never said that and warns him that their relationship must be a big secret, which he accepts being that way, how the two became a couple secretly. Then again, we see that both clans face each other again, although Inuzuka can't hold back her happiness and advances towards the enemy in little jumps, leaving those on her side confused, and when she attacks Persia directly, they lose sight of Hazuki Komai, her childhood friend, and Scott, Persia's servant and follower. It turns out that Inuzuka moved away from everyone with Persia and explains that she wants to know more about her. Persia ends up telling her that her blood type is A and that her birthday is on July 1st. But when she tries to continue, she's interrupted by Inuzuka, who took the opportunity to write all that down and then clarifies that she just wanted to be alone with her. But this makes Persia end up retreating when she sees that she doesn't have a special reason. He stops her, saying that even if there is no reason or it is dangerous, he wants to be with her, and before finishing his sentence, he notices that Hazuki approaches them. Inuzuka pretends to hold Persia by the face in an attempt to look like he has her trapped. There, what she does is kick him in the jaw, which leaves him unconscious. Later, Persia has a memory when as a child her father avoided her because he told her not to interrupt him without a reason, and then she remembers the words that Inuzuka told her. Suddenly, she realizes that Inuzuka is looking at her through the window, which she finds embarrassing since she is in the dressing room. He apologizes for what happened before, mentioning that he did a lot of research on how to help her as her partner. They show us that he asked some white cat's children about what do people from the West do as a couple, and they answer about giving a rosary because that is proof of being a couple. Inuzuka asks Persia to accept that as proof of love, but before showing it to her, he is interrupted by Scott, who asks him what he is doing there, although it is also shown that he is doing the same thing using the excuse that he was watching. After that, he throws himself on him, causing them both to fall to the ground. When he wakes up, he realizes that he's in the bedroom and in Hazuki's lap. She explains that Persia threw him from the roof, but not to worry since everyone said they will get revenge on Persia and went after her. Hazuki then tells him that she will be his nurse, but when he turns his gaze, he realizes that she is hugging the dog and that Inuzuka has already left. When he leaves, he finds Persia, but she is also fleeing since behind him was the entire group of his clan, and then they are blocked by the White Cat's clan. Scott takes advantage of the fact that Inuzuka is distracted and they attack him. This makes him so angry that when he clenches his fist, he breaks the rosary, causing him to slowly approach a statue, which when he holds it, he ends up pulling it out of the ground and begins to spin like crazy, losing his mind by attacking everyone, including those of his clan. At night, we see that he is tearing up the grass as punishment, and when he sees the broken rosary, he tries to throw it into the river. But then Persia appears, which Inuzuka takes advantage of to apologize for having broken the gift he wanted to give her. Then she asks him to row the boat for her and tells him that it is dark, so they will not see them there. She takes the opportunity to suggestively check his pockets to see the gift he wanted to give her. He tells her that next time he will go to the town and buy her something better, and that he doesn't care if she throws that piece of trash away. Although he laughs through his tears in a barely concealed way, Persia asks him to close his eyes, but he opens them prematurely and becomes all red in the face when he sees her so close, realizing that she has placed something around his neck, and that is a rosary. It turns out that it is hers since Westerners use rosaries every morning for worship. In the West, you use a rosary for daily prayer or to give it to someone special as a good luck charm, and that charm was given to her by her mother as congratulations for being accepted into school, and she's prayed every day with that being her most prized possession. And that is a sign of her honest feelings, asking her to take good care of it. Before continuing to speak, he is interrupted by Inuzuka, who tells him that such a precious must be used by herself. This leaves her in shock, and in the end, Persia takes the oars and tells him that she will go home, which makes Inuzuka nervous and ends up falling into the water. Seeing him, she asks him to cool his head and leaves while she is angry with him, leaving him lying in the water. The next day, Hazuki asks Inuzuka to go together to Dahlia town, but he tells her that he has plans, and suddenly a boy appears and tells her that he will go with him. This makes Hazuki perplexed. It turns out that that boy is Persia in disguise, and what they talked about to get to that point is shown. It turns out that Inuzuka asked her to go to the town together, but was immediately rejected by her since they cannot be discovered. Inuzuka answers that he has a Touwa disguise and that will serve to go incognito. As they walk down the street, Scott yells his name as he heads towards them, mentioning that he smells Persia, but in the end they are just two black doggies and he leaves from there. After that, another boy asks Inuzuka who that is next to him is. He answers that he is a distant relative who is in high school and his name is Shulio. There he puts on a shy face behind Inuzuka and asks them not to look at him so much, which leaves the three boys with a strange feeling. Well, despite being a boy, he made his heart beat 1,000 times. After that, a lot of girls and boys arrive, enchanted by Julio, which leaves Inuzuka frustrated because his date plan was ruined. Now they explain to us that that town and Dahlia Academy were made for the friendship between Touwa and the West. Once in the village, Inuzuka warns them to stop following them and that they will have to go over him to get closer. Said and done, they end up attacking him between three, and the girls comment that Inuzuka seems excited and that it is the first time they see him like that, and they tell Julio that he is actually Persia, that he never gets excited, he always looks grumpy and does not participate in conversations. Later, they end up eating at a noodle stand and Julio ends up dropping food on his clothes. Inuzuka reacts by trying to take off his pants so that he does not burn himself, but he is strongly hit by her. Later, he takes her to the haunted house, but when they go in, they scare her so much that she ends up hitting the zombie and running away from there. Inuzuka, losing sight of her, ends up getting depressed near the seashore. There Maru sees him, who takes the opportunity to throw him into the water to get revenge for the beating he gave him before, and when he realizes that Inuzuka does not know how to swim, he tries to sink him further. At that moment, Julio appears and asks him to move away, mentioning that Inuzuka may be an idiot, but that he's important to him. Maru approaches him in a friendly way to end up attacking him, but Julio grabs his arm and throws him against the ground to advise him not to throw anyone into the sea again. Later, Inuzuka and Persia meet alone. She tells him what she learned about him, saying that he is very different from when they are together, and clarifies that the date was good because she likes to think that a date is more about learning about each other, and that she could see a side of him that she did not know, and that they go out on another date soon. At that moment, Scott appears in front of them, and then Inuzuka reacts quickly by slamming his head against hers to pretend that they are fighting. After a while, we are shown that Inuzuka asks Persia to free her schedule in 3 days because that day will be a month since they started dating, and he wants to celebrate it together. She accepts, but before holding hands, Hazuki and Scott appear, which makes them end up pretending to fight once again. The two inform her that there is something urgent, and that is that someone problematic has arrived, the first princess of West. Westia Chartreuse, the white cats, end up receiving Char in a very striking way. She, upon seeing Scott, asks him to tell her a joke, and that if he bores him, she will hit him. Although in the end, she ends up hitting him before time, and it is because his simple existence bored her. After that, she points at Inuzuka because she had ordered that everyone receive him, including the black doggies, but he refuses that. There, Inuzuka launches himself against her to attack her, but stops when she hears that Char tells her that he is dating Persia, despite that she tries to deny it, but Char mentions that she even dressed as a man and even took a photo, which she shows. And seeing that, Inuzuka throws himself to the ground at such a mistake of his. Because he knows that she has him in her hands, Char tells him in a low voice that if he accepts her terms, she will not say anything, and orders him to become her faithful dog. At that moment, she forces him to give her a shoulder massage, and this leaves everyone perplexed, especially Persia. Hazuki gives him a flying kick and then slaps him when asking him to wake up, while the other black doggies wonder what Inuzuka is doing with the enemy's princess. Later, Char explains to her that no matter where he is, he has to go to her at the third whistle. Inuzuka asks her not to do it, but she clarifies that she doesn't care about the rivalry between Touwa and West, and that she only wants a dog faithful to her, and asks him if he knows the impact that his deceptions would cause. Because if they are discovered, they will lose their faction and popularity. Inuzuka understands this well, because if that happens, Persia will not be able to fulfill her dream. Char makes it clear that for that very reason he has no other option but to obey her, and that this will be his secret. Shortly after, he meets up with Persia, and she asks him what he was doing with Char and if he really prefers her. Inuzuka tells her that she is misunderstanding him, but upon hearing the whistle, she runs directly to Char, asking Persia to wait for him in that place. What she does is use him as a seat in transportation, and by placing the photo that she took of him with Persia in front of his face, she makes him go with Turtle. Seeing that makes the black doggies convinced that Inuzuka has betrayed them. After finishing, Inuzuka runs towards Persia again, although he does it on all fours, and before he can explain anything to her is where he hears the whistle again. Well, now Char tells him that he wants to eat deer, It being already night, he returns with Persia having several deer nailed to his body, and again the whistle sounds at that moment, and he tells her that he cannot tell her what is happening, but he swears that he will protect her. But Persia ends up hitting him on the back, mentioning that that face of weakness is normal in him and encourages him to go do what he has to do, but also clarifies that he cannot be alone on the anniversary of the two. Inuzuka now follows Char's orders without complaining because he's determined to be her dog while he looks for a weakness of hers. When returning to the dormitory, he sees that the boys took his things out to the street because being a traitor they have left him out, and that he's also lucky that it was only that because Hazuki convinced them not to go any further. The next day, Char continues giving orders to Inuzuka to annoy him. He sees that she is cunning, her physical abilities are unmatched, she knows how to keep up appearances, and the teachers like her. So she has no weak points, and being one day away from the anniversary, Inuzuka asks Persia to tell him everything about Char, but she can't tell him the reasons, but that she needs to know. The next day, he makes a false announcement where they call Char and takes the opportunity to get into his room to investigate her, but suddenly Char returns there and tries to check every part of the room to see where Inuzuka went, although he can't find him anywhere. Suddenly, Inuzuka tells him that he has found a spectacular place. Well, it turns out that there was a secret door behind the mirror, and explains that he went in there out of conscience because he thought it was a window, and threw himself face first into the mirror by mistake. Then the impact opened it, showing that inside that secret room, there are a huge number of photos of Persia and accuses her of being in love with her, although Char denies it. Inuzuka then tells her that she will take them, but she tells him no, since it is from her collection, which makes him smile as he catches her completely and then accuses her that her true objective is to get between him and Persia so that they would break up and that she was jealous. Char tells her not to talk as if she understood his feelings because Persia has always been by her side. She understood her and was her friend, someone important to her. However, she is with someone like him and she can't allow that, and she asks him not to take her away from her. Suddenly, Persia knocks on the door since she shares a room with Char, which scares her since there are photos of Persia lying on the floor. Inuzuka tells her to make time, and that's what she does by distracting Persia at the door so she doesn't look inside. Once she enters, she sees that there is nothing on the floor because Inuzuka hid in the secret room in time. While she sees Persia getting ready, she tells her those plans must be very important and tells her that she has left her aside in her life, but Persia clarifies that no matter what happens, she will always be by her side because she is her best friend after all. When she leaves, she asks Inuzuka why he helped her, and he explains that he knows very well the pain of not being able to reveal his feelings, in addition to the fact that if she is discovered, he will not be able to blackmail her with anything. She warns him that if he continues that relationship with Persia, he will be in danger, and that is why she will never approve of him. Being night, Inuzuka and Persia finally meet, and he realizes that she has a rosary as a pendant. Persia explains that she has fixed it because she could not throw it away, causing Inuzuka to cry again. This is seen by Char, who assumes that he is in debt and that he will leave them alone just for today. Then we are with Persia disguised as Julio in the Black Doggy's dormitory with Inuzuka because she was asked to go there. Inuzuka explains to her that what will be done is the traditional study camp of the Black Doggies. 3 days before the partials, they study for 72 hours until they fall exhausted, and that she asked him to go because they can't leave the dormitory during the camp. At that moment, Hazuki appears and puts everyone in order, having a more bossy attitude that leaves Persia surprised. Inuzuka explains to her that Hazuki's personality changes when she puts on her glasses, and despite her appearance, she is the smartest in her class, in addition to the fact that she is in charge of all the study camps. Inuzuka shows desire to show Persia what he is capable of, but as soon as the test begins, he falls asleep there. Hazuki wakes him up by using hooks to force his eyes open, and seeing that he is still sleepy, she hits him with the hooks all over the face. Shortly after, he mentions to Persia that that school has prestige and that if he fails, they will return him to his country, and Hazuki is trying hard so that that doesn't happen to anyone because she loves all the Black Doggies. When night comes, she tells him that the White Cats usually study alone and that what they did was fun. As soon as she leaves, Hazuki appears, who tells Inuzuka that she is now smiling normally because she thought that he was keeping secrets from her after what happened with Char, and shows him her support for him, making it clear that she will be there for whatever he needs. After leaving, Char appears because she is spying on him when she sees that he was with Persia. He also hints that he is seeing Hazuki with different eyes and that he does not trust her because she is keeping that secret of their relationship from him, but he tells her that it is not true, and that if she tells him that truth, he will make them stop being friends because Hazuki loves Black Doggies. Then we see that Hazuki is studying by taking an extra partial, and Maru lets her know that everyone knows that she does it for Inuzuka. She ends up telling him that when she was a child, she was not good at socializing, although her good grades were good because since she did not make friends, she studied all the time. But then she met Inuzuka, who, when receiving help from her in his studies, became happy and valued what Hazuki did for him, which made them become friends. Those words of Inuzuka were the trigger in her, and so she was able to change. so that's why she wants to help him even a little. It turns out that Inuzuka heard everything, and when Maru leaves, he enters and lets her know that he was listening and asks her why she does so much for him, and Hazuki answers that it's because she loves him, and Inuzuka thinks that she is his first friend since childhood, and that he can't keep hiding the truth from her out of respect for her feelings. At that moment, he tells her that Persia and he are dating, and that he hasn't told anyone yet, and that he's glad to hear her feelings, but he can't accept them, and he also apologizes for hiding the truth from her. Hazuki tells him that she understands him, although she tries to shout the truth to everyone, making Inuzuka cover her mouth before she does it. After that, she puts a robe on him and prepares the ritual, showing him the rule that all the black doggies agree to follow, which says that if they fall in love with a white cat, they receive a divine punishment, although he does not agree with that because it seems unfair to him. After listening to him, she takes Touwa's sword and lets him know that they have to follow the code, and that as his friend she will show mercy and speed up his since she will not allow them to stain the name of the black doggies. Inuzuka is forced to run away from her. On the way, he meets Kento and Awetsugi in the hallway, but he ignores them when dodging an attack from her by jumping out the window, and this attack ends up destroying their clothes, who are seen by Maru in a suspicious way, ending up locking the door. Persia looks out the window and feels that she heard a rumble in a black doggie's bedroom and just sees Inuzuka running away from Hazuki. She then meets Inuzuka, and he lets her know that he told Hazuki about them and that he did it to reciprocate her feelings. At that moment, Hazuki appears between them and launches a powerful attack. Persia twists her ankle a little, but when she is attacked by Hazuki, Char appears to save her, and there Inuzuka takes the opportunity to catch Hazuki. Char apologizes to Persia, telling her that he already knew about the relationship between them and that he is there because he does not want her to get hurt, but that he was there for another reason, and it is because he wants to kill Inuzuka because he warned him not to endanger Persia. Inuzuka reacts by taking Persia and running away from there, ending up in front of a cliff that leads to a river. He mentions that he feels pathetic because he talked about changing the world when he cannot even convince his friend and also put her in danger. Despite that, Persia tells him that he is not a good friend and he is not a good friend. He asks to face the two without running away because he knows that he can change what he wants, and makes him remember that it was he who changed her heart that day. Inuzuka, seeing Hazuki approaching, tells him that he will take everything he has and that he will not run away, but that he is selfish because it does not matter how much he hates him or calls him a traitor, he will always be his friend from the bottom of his heart. At that moment, he receives Hazuki's attack with his head, but when he moves the sword away, it is seen that it was a replica, and shortly after, Hazuki is filled with tears. Suddenly, Persia slips and falls off the cliff, to which Inuzuka reacts by also jumping in to save her, as well as Hazuki and Char. When he regains consciousness, he sees that Hazuki saved him and that Char saved Persia. She scolds him for having committed that madness since he does not know how to swim, asking him why he jumped, and Inuzuka tells her that he thought that Persia was in danger, and before realizing it, she had already jumped and that she did not need a reason. Hazuki eventually understands because he sees her the same way she sees him and tearfully begins to insult him in various ways, while Inuzuka accepts everything without complaint. The next day, he sees that Hazuki is as usual and that he has kept the secret of their relationship. On a new day, Inuzuka asks Persia to make a vento for him, but when she goes to the kitchen, she makes a complete mess, and the cook ends up saving the day. In the end, Persia sees that she can't waste any more time because Inuzuka is excited to eat her food. Later, she shows him a beautiful vento that leaves him enchanted, but they are interrupted by Char because she has never tried a vento from Persia and will not allow him to do so. Then he confiscates that vento and ends up running away. Seeing what happens, Scott also gets involved because he thinks that Inuzuka stole Persia's vento, and the two end up fighting over his vento. But by accident, it ends up falling into the pig pen, being devoured in an instant. This leaves Inuzuka frustrated, but Persia, seeing him like that, she confesses to him that that vento actually belongs to the chef, and that if he really wants to try something she made, then he should eat those cookies she prepared. Inuzuka feels happy, but as he eats the cookies, he can't help but say that they are terrible, which leaves Persia all embarrassed and making faces of annoyance. After that, Inuzuka tells him that he should have told him that he doesn't know how to cook, and that at least he can relax when he's with him because they are secretly a couple anyway, and no one will see her. Persia tells him to keep quiet and that next time she will make him a delicious vento and make him swallow his words. On the other hand, Char is in charge of training poor Scott by having him as a pig and asking for help from his dear Persia. We are at the sports festival where the black doggies train hard with the help of Hazuki and the girls. Maru tells Inuzuka not to participate this time, showing that he made a mistake in the previous sports festival. Hazuki is surprised by one of the girls because it was noticeable that she could not stop looking at Inuzuka, and the girls suggest that she aim for the MVP of Jinx, because whoever wins the MVP of the sports festival will dance with the partner of their choice at the party. This girl asks Inuzuka that if Hazuki wins the MVP to dance with her. Although he imagines something different in the end, he ends up accepting. After that, Inuzuka fights with Scott, mentioning that everyone seems like fools excited about the sports festival. Scott remembers that he was a war criminal last year in the 100-meter race, and they count on him to make them win again. Because of that, Inuzuka tries to throw a punch at him, but is easily stopped by a girl who suddenly appears. It's about a first year of the White Cats. Somali long-haired, who is accompanied by Abby Sinia, also a first year and from the same faction. When introducing herself, Somali says that she is Abby's girlfriend, but he refuses, and they end up arguing between the two. After that, Abby gets very close to Persia, mentioning that, as is normal, there is usually a fight between his faction and his, and that he was thinking that it was time for them to join, and asks her if she would go out with him when he is the month of the sports festival, but she pushes his hand away, answering that she does not like superficial men. At that moment, Abby feels malice from Inuzuka and Scott. Somali tries to attack Inuzuka, but they are stopped by Persia, and before leaving he is stopped by Abby, who asks Inuzuka why he is angry and asks if it is because he is in love with him, but Inuzuka denies it directly. After that, he declares to Inuzuka that he will crush him at the sports festival. It's already nighttime when Inuzuka receives a letter from Persia who tells him to meet at the track tomorrow at 5 and to go there without anyone noticing because he wants help practicing for the three-legged race. He remembers that this race is where they tie his legs and stick his shoulders together, but going around in circles makes him so excited that he doesn't stop screaming even when he's sleeping. The next day he meets her, but when Persia ties her legs, Inuzuka sees that her cleavage is exposed, and because of her, he hits his eyes when he notices that. Inuzuka tells her that he's noticed that she's very motivated, and she explains that if she wins the MVP, she can increase her approval from the people of West, and that would help her father too. This makes him get serious because she counts on him and wants to meet his expectations. After training, she says that her start was perfect and asks him if he has more confidence now, and that it's because of last year because they were tied in points and the 100-meter competition decided the winner, but he made a false start and reached the finish line without noticing, and when they repeated it, he was in last place. So as a result, the black doggies lost, and she tells him that he can make up for it this time because it's like he said the other day that he can also relax when he's with her, that if he's having a bad time, she'll have a bad time too, and that if he doesn't give his all, she'll get angry too, and that if he wins the MVP, he'll have to obey an order from her. Then Inuzuka understands that if he wins the MVP, she would accept any order from him. This causes a dark aura to surround him, hypnotized by that goal, making Persia regret it and try to get that idea out of his head. Later, they show the boys that he will be the representative of the 100-meter race. The day arrives where the 3 days of the Dahlia Academy Sports Festival have begun. Inuzuka is determined to be the MVP to make Persia call him by his first name. The leader of the Black Doggies gives the opening of the sports festival, although as always he is not understood at all because he stumbles over every word, and the leader of the White Cats criticizes him for that. The first event is tug of war, and when it starts, the Black Doggies take total control but are stopped by Somali, and she faces them alone with her enormous strength. Abby tells her that she is doing well and to keep it up, but from the excitement, she lets go of the rope because Abby has praised her, and while she's happy with that, she makes the Black Doggies win in that competition. The second event is the obstacle course where Maru and Char become rivals. There, Maru takes the lead, and while she runs, she releases a lot of sharp spikes on the ground, although what Char does is use the other White Cats to carry her comfortably on a chair. This causes Maru to fight with the referee who approves that action, and because of that, Char ends up winning that event. After that, the other events follow, where in the 100-meter race, Inuzuka wins. This causes the score to be tied, and the winner will be decided in the second half of the sports festival. Inuzuka is left alone with Persia. She tells him that her mother is in the stands, and that if she wins the map, she will tell her father, so she can't lose. He mentions that he should introduce himself to his mother, but Persia tells him to leave that for the future, which makes him think things, and they both blush. There are only 3 games left, and it starts with the event. Knocked down the post, Persia stands out at that moment, but is helped by Somali, although she ends up stepping on him suddenly. It turns out that she agreed with Abby to plan something against him. The White Cats girls team wins that event, but the boys team also falls, causing them to be tied, and the score is 300 for the White Cats and 250 for the Black Doggies. Char, noticing that something happened to Persia, runs towards her to see, but she tells him that nothing is wrong. We now move on to the mixed relay race, but as Persia tries too hard, she ends up falling to the ground. At that moment, Abby appears and accuses her of being the one to blame for all their effort being in vain, and his men support that idea, causing the nobles to also speak badly of Persia. Suddenly, that whole atmosphere is silenced by Inuzuka, who hits the wall of the stadium hard. Abby then tells Somali that she only has to defeat Inuzuka in the horse battle, and thus she will fulfill her dream. After examining Persia, they see that she has punctures and multiple bruises on her foot, and that is why she will no longer be able to participate in the competition. Char makes this known to Inuzuka, who feels guilty for not having been able to protect her, but Char clarifies that it was not an accident because she saw when Somali stepped on her foot, and Somali only obeys Abi since he has a fight with Persia for control of the white cats, and she is sure that this was planned to get rid of Persia's faction. But she has no proof of that and therefore cannot do anything. Inuzuka tells Persia to wipe her tears, and if she stops feeling pain, to go see the match so he can see when he crushes them. Once there, Maru asks Inuzuka to bend down since he had agreed that he would be the knight, but by force, Inuzuka ends up climbing on top of Maru, asking him to be the rider. Maru angrily warns him that he will not move from that place. Meanwhile, Hazuki was taking control of the battle. Although Abi mentions that it is time, she snaps her fingers at that moment, and the girl holding Hazuki falls to her knees feeling weak, and Abi takes advantage of that to take the ribbon from Hazuki, which disqualifies her. The black dotties are falling little by little, including Maru's friends who were with the Inuzuka team who fell asleep. Inuzuka is surrounded by the white cats, but suddenly he hears a cry of encouragement from Persia, who is dressed as Julio. This gives enormous strength to Inuzuka and for some reason also to Maru, who take control of the situation. When they finish off the enemy teams quickly, suddenly two of Abi's boys fall to the ground. It turns out that Kohitsuji hit them with a paralyzer. Abi tries to warn the referee about that, but Maru interrupts him since it was he who started playing dirty. The water they gave them was a bit bitter, and he knew right away that they were sleeping pills. Since he also has the same, when he found the water carrier, he threatened him and got the whole truth out of him and told him that it was Abi who did it. Maru lets him know that he could have betrayed him, but he has that bad habit that he can't help, and that's because he likes to break the hopes of those who believe themselves to be at the top. Somali tries to kick them, but Inuzuka stops him with his hands with great force, because it was those shoes full of spikes that hurt Persia. In the end, Inuzuka grabs Abi by the head and throws him against the stadium with enormous force. But before they are declared winners, he tells everyone that beating that trash doesn't feel like winning and yells at Persia to show his face, because he wants to settle accounts once and for all. Those words of encouragement were enough since Persia ends up coming out to fight him. At the start of the fight, it is shown that the two are evenly matched, even though Persia is enduring the pain of her injured foot. Seeing her like this causes the audience to start supporting her, also showing that they are all very tired after that hard fight. Inuzuka quickly throws his hand towards her to grab the bandage, but when Persia dodges it, he causes her to firmly grab one of her melons, which leaves everyone in shock. After a few seconds, Inuzuka falls to the ground, leaving everyone confused. Persia takes the MVP, while Inuzuka is scolded by the black doggies because his defeat was because of some melons. There, they inform him that he will no longer be the leader of the clan and will be punished. At the dance, Scott was looking for Persia, but is greeted by Char, where she tells him that she's going to shave his head, but not to worry, since it will not be his head, but somewhere else. Inuzuka is receiving a punishment in the fountain, but Persia appears before him asking her to dance with him. Although Inuzuka lets her know that he doesn't know how to dance in West, to which she tells him to dance like they do in Touwa. While teaching him, Persia begins to remember everything he did for her and ends up thanking him. She also swears to return the favor, and that no matter what happens, she will protect him. We are now in a meeting between the prefects of both clans where they talk about how the sports festival resulted in a tie between the 3 days that passed. Although a month has passed since the festival, the prefect of the Black Doggies mentions that he has received information that he cannot ignore since there were some problems in the competition of the first years, referring to Abi's cheating. Although the prefect of the White Cats answers that they were the ones who threw away their victory with their problem boy, but he clarifies that he is not talking about the results but about the problem that exists within the White Cats. One of them answers that Abi was declared guilty and quickly lost his popularity and his faction falls apart, which also shows that both prefects do not get along. On the other hand, Inuzuka is sick and Hazuki is taking care of him, and that he got like that because of stress after having been too kind. When she leaves, Persia appears as Julia to take care of him. He tells her that after his punishment, Hazuki was left as the leader. At that moment, Persia finds a magazine from the Melon Club, and Inuzuka remembers that it is from Kohitsuji, and that he previously told her that what she did is unforgivable, but that she can't blame him since he also likes melons, and leaves that magazine in her room. Inuzuka clarifies to Persia that he doesn't like those things, shouting that the only melon that interests him is hers, but when he realizes what he said, he hears her call him a perv, making his life vanish into thin air. Persia is angry and tells him that she will go get water and food for him. Although when she sees him again, she sees that he is asleep, although in reality he is quite passed out from what he just did. Later she meets Maru, and when she sees that he is questioning her, she ends up running away from there. Not knowing the Black Doggy's bedroom, she mistakenly enters the girl's bathroom, falling directly into the water. After running away, she finally arrives with Inuzuka showing herself sad for the scare she had there. She takes off her wet clothes while he doesn't look. although that clearly affects Inuzuka, who can't help but fantasize about it. As soon as he opens an eye, she greets him with pokes in the eye, leaving a crime scene on the bed. Suddenly, they try to open the door, although it is locked, and as a reaction, Persia got under the sheets, staying on top of him. She apologizes to Inuzuka, although she sees that his fever rose after that incredible situation. When he wakes up by the song that Persia sings to him, he asks her where he heard it. She tells him that it is a lullaby that was sung in West, that it helps to sleep, and that her father sang that to her when she couldn't sleep. Then she realizes that he looks better because his fever disappeared, and mentions that he was sick from stress, but that he was cured because he was able to relax, and that it is thanks to her. Although Persia explains that she did not know that he had a fever, and that she simply went there because she wanted to see him, when she hears her and sees her make that adorable expression, the heat goes to her head and she even catches fire. One day, the two of them talk secretly, and he lets her know that that day will be the harvest festival near the campus, where they will have food stalls and fireworks. He then asks her to go together, to which she agrees, but this time Persia should not dress up as Julio. Although that would complicate things a lot, Inuzuka ends up saying that he doesn't mind going to that festival while he can't help but cry, and Persia tells him that she will try to sneak away before the fireworks so that the two of them can go see them together. After she leaves, he suddenly catches a girl who falls from a tree. She tells him to let go since his hand is touching her, and he apologizes because he didn't even notice that she was his rear guard, which the girl didn't like. Right after, another girl falls on him, and the two clarify that despite being 14 years old, they are in high school. Hazuki arrives shortly after, and upon seeing them, she apologizes for whatever Inuzuka did to them and explains to him that they are perfect. She is the medical expert student Kochu Wang and the engineering expert student Tiria Wang, being both second years. Kochu lets him know that she seemed to be having fun under that bench, which puts him on guard since he can't let the two find out about his relationship with Persia. But he tells her he was talking to his friends the ants, and that he invited them to the festival. This leaves an awkward silence in the air, and then the three of them feel sorry for him. Later, he is surprised by the two of them again in his room, and they show him that they got a rosary there. Wondering why someone from Touwa would have a rosary, he quickly pounces on Tiria to take the rosary from her, although that causes him to have her against the bed in a compromising way, and when he sees them well, he asks them if they really are twins because he sees a clear difference in certain things. Kokao sees his panic and believes that this rosary holds a secret. This causes Inuzuka to come out and try to lock them inside, being helped by them to seal the door, screaming. Right after, when he realizes that they are outside with him, he ends up escaping, being chased by the two. Once night falls and the festival starts, he manages to meet Persia and tells her that she is being chased by the prefects. By mistake, she steps on a branch, which makes the two of them turn towards it. But what they find are some cows while they hid right behind. After that, they make a senseless journey to go to the fireworks and suddenly hide in a barrel so as not to be discovered. This makes Inuzuka uncomfortable to be so close to Persia, making his evil side and his angel side doubt what he should do. Suddenly, a third subject appears, which is the philosophical type, giving reasons to want to touch a girl. Although he ends up receiving a beating from both, at that moment, he observes Kochu and Tiria through a hole, realizing something. Once they leave, Inuzuka comes out after understanding the situation and asks Persia to wait for him right there. Then he introduces himself to the two of them and challenges them to compete for the positions, and that if he wins, they will have to kneel. They refuse since the perfect ones don't have time to play, but he corrects them by saying that it's a fight, not a game, and that if they refuse, he will destroy that position. Then they start competing in several different things where they try hard to spoil Inuzuka, managing to be the winners. He tells them that the challenges are over, but that they didn't decide the terms, and tells them to call him if they want to play another day, implying that they just wanted friends to spend the festival with. And according to their classmates, those girls are always alone since they are perfect, so they can't just approach them casually. Inuzuka comforts them by letting them know that they are girls and that they can relax a little, although later she remembers that she left Persia alone and rushes to go to her. But just at that moment, she sees that the fireworks have already started. Once she gets to the barrel to find her, she asks her if she saw the fireworks. She tells her yes, and that she saw them through that hole. Also, that is the first time she sees fireworks from a barrel. Inuzuka apologizes to her, but Persia tells her that she was joking and that she is not angry because she could see some things, and that those girls wanted to have fun, and that even though they couldn't see the fireworks, she could see a kind side of her. Then we see that Kochu and Tiria wonder if Inuzuka will enter the prefect candidacy, and that if she does, she will create a revolution throughout the school. Then we are with Char, who marks July 1st on his calendar with a flower, being happy because Persia's birthday will be great. She asks Char for a favor, but upon hearing it, her happiness instantly fades. Inuzuka does the same, marking July 1st with an adorable flower, mentioning that there is only a week left for her birthday and wonders what gift she should give her. Suddenly, Kochu climbs on his back and asks him whose birthday is it. Just before saying the name, he changes it to Pearl and hits her forehead with his feather. Then he asks her where the other one is, and she explains that Tyria was under her bed since last night because when she gets a liking for someone, she follows them everywhere. But since she is shy, she hides. Then they mention that they will go to Dahlia Plaza because they are going shopping, and besides, they do not want to go. Inuzuka sees that as an opportunity, and later it is shown that she is in the town because she was able to go there with the permission that they gave her so that she could do the shopping. After investigating what Persia would like as a gift, she finds a stuffed cat which Char also grabs, who also planned to give that to her. This causes him to be pulled hard and ended up breaking it, having to pay for it. Then a police officer sees Char and warns him that there are Touwa extremists hiding in the city, and that he can't be there without an escort. This causes her to grab Inuzuka and take him into a store to come out again with him, fully dressed as West and with a blonde wig, convincing the policeman that he is her escort. Then she explains to him that he is her only option and that in exchange she will tell him what gift is best for Persia, which he accepts. Char takes him to an underwear store, and despite being embarrassed, Inuzuka is interested in showing him which garment would go best with Persia. Suddenly, Persia feels a chill as if she felt that they were talking strange about her. After a while, Char can't decide on which gift is best for Persia, and right after, the rain falls on them. On the other hand, Kochov and Tyria, seeing the rain, worry about Inuzuka and wonder about that Rosario thing that the head prefect just heard. Returning to Inuzuka, he squeezes Char's clothes so that she puts them on since her underwear can be seen on top. Since it is wet, she takes advantage of that to try to seduce him, but Inuzuka replies that even if it is a joke, she should not say those things to someone who does not want to hear them. After sighing, she explains that she was thinking of reporting him to Persia if he tried something, and lets him know that she is no longer his escort. Char, being alone, thinks that it has been a long time since someone scolded her like that back then. No matter how capricious she was, no one said anything to her, and everyone wanted to please her. That is why she was too capricious at home and earned the nickname of Tyrant Princess. But the day came when Persia scolded her for being very greedy, and seeing that she liked it, and the two became great friends because she could see that Persia truly cared about her. Upon reaching a tunnel, she is surprised by a subject who is trying to knock her unconscious while another tells her to stay still, referring to them as Touwa criminals. She reacts by kicking the one holding her in order to free herself. At that moment, Inuzuka appears and easily finishes off the other subject, mentioning that she is Char's escort. She asks him why he saved her, and he answers that it is because if something happens to her, Persia will be sad. This makes Char start laughing, realizing that he's a bigger idiot. Later, she tells him that she was jealous of him and tells him that Persia asked her to lie to the head of the dorm because she wanted to spend her birthday with her partner, and that she was happy being by his side as his friend. But seeing her getting closer and closer to Inuzuka made him think that there is a face that she only shows to him. But then she tells him that she doesn't want him to comfort her with her strange ways. Well, he sees this sad face she makes and that he will have to think of a gift on his own because that will make Persia happier. Then he gives her a gift. Well, that is the reward for having been her escort today. Although when he looks inside, he realizes that it is the brassiere that she suggested to him before. Upon arriving at his dorm, he receives a note from Persia and meets her in the library. Persia asks him if he would celebrate her birthday by her side, and when he accepts, she mentions that she was worried because she was afraid that he would reject her and that she does not want him to go to her dorm that year as he always does. Because every year he bursts into the dorm on her birthday and makes a mess by smashing cakes in everyone's faces, especially her, which causes the party to be cancelled. But that year they will do it properly, and he tells her that he wants to give her a gift and asks Persia what she wants. Because he tried but nothing occurred to him, she, after thinking for a few seconds, ends up answering that she wants a couple accessory, which he agrees to give her. Being very happy, he returns to his room and finds Hazuki there. But when he looks inside, he realizes that the head prefect is there. This is about Eru Inuzuka, Romio Inuzuka's older brother. Hazuki explains to her that the representative entered her room out of nowhere. He is one of the heads of the famous Inuzuka family. He is extremely strong and strict. In addition to keeping the black doggies in order, Hazuki knows that Inuzuka does not usually talk to her brother and notices him quite scared by his presence. Eru asks him where he got that rosary and why he has it, and Kachu apologizes to him since Eru heard them talk about her rosary. Hazuki explains that it is a gift for her because she wanted something shiny, so he bought it for her. Then Eru asks him where he got those clothes, referring to the underwear that Char gave him, to which Yasuki denies having any idea about that, immediately abandoning Inuzuka. But Eru adds that that's not all, as she noticed that Inuzuka has been acting strange and asks him if he isn't dating a woman from the White Cats, since Touwa and West have a complicated relationship and their superficial peace treaty could be broken at any moment. If in the middle of that they discover that he is communicating with a woman from the enemy side, he will be treated as a traitor, and if because of him that comes to affect the Inuzuka family, they will expel him from the school and the family. Hazuki tries to tell him that he has no authority, but Eru asks him why he has been covering for Inuzuka and that he is his accomplice. But Inuzuka answers that Hazuki has nothing to do with it, and that he is not dating anyone. Eru grabs him by the neck, asking him how he can believe a troublemaker like him, and if he knows how many times he has helped him, but is stopped by Kokshu and Tiria. Afterwards, Eru informs Inuzuka that he will be under surveillance for a week, and that if his doubts are cleared, he will be free. This does not please him, since on the last day it will be Persia's birthday, but he decides not to answer anything to his brother. On the other hand, Persia was improving in her cooking skills, preparing some delicious cookies that Char tried and gave his approval. At that moment, they see Inuzuka accompany the representative of the black doggies, but Persia realizes that he is not the same as always and that he seems to fear something. Kokshu asks Inuzuka if he doesn't get along with his brother because Eru is always calm, and that he has only seen him so angry with the representative of the white cats. There, a paper plane hits Eru and some children apologize for that. What he does is crush the plane, but in reality he improves it and gives it back to them, advising them to go play in a larger area. Inuzuka clarifies to Kokshu that Eru is kind only to the students, but that he has never been like that with him. He disciplined him since he was little, and if he made a mistake, he scolded him to tears, so for him is only a trauma. The days go by with Inuzuka being well guarded and reprimanded by his older brother. On one of those days, Persia passes by them, but when he turns around to see her, he doesn't say anything and goes after Eru again. One day before Persia's birthday, Inuzuka practices kendo with Eru and ends up quite injured. Meanwhile, Scott is making preparations with the white cats for her birthday. When he finishes, Hazuki helps Inuzuka with his wounds and mentions that she is surprised that he remains so calm because he thought that he would disobey him. Upon hearing that, he sees that it was a success because he has been holding back the last few days so that his brother would lower his guard, and promises Hazuki that he will not be expelled so that she will not be so worried about him. After that, he leaves her alone and Persia appears behind her, asking why Inuzuka could be expelled. Well, he had heard them. Being night, Inuzuka leaves the dormitory but is surprised by his brother, who was already waiting for him. Eru tells him that she already knew he was planning something because he pretended to be sorry, but his eyes show determination and reminds him that it is forbidden to leave the dormitory, giving him the order to return. But with difficulty, Inuzuka rejects that order, and being provoked by him, he ends up throwing a punch at him, but Eru stops him easily. After throwing another punch, he counterattacks with a strong punch in the face by Eru, which leaves him quite injured, falling to the ground. After that, Eru takes him to an empty warehouse and locks him in that place, but soon after the door is opened by the twins. Since before escaping, Inuzuka asks the two of them to help him confront Eru because he needs to leave the dormitory for 2 hours, but is impossible without being caught, and most likely they will lock him up to reflect on his actions. But while he is locked up, his brother will lower his guard, and they want them to save them after that, since it is the only way to escape from their brother. Tiria tells him that she wants to help him, while the prefects must guide and protect the students, and he tries to get over a wall. So she wants to help him get over that wall. In the end, Kokshu accepts too, and that's why he could be saved by them. Once outside, he runs directly to Persia to see her, but suddenly he begins to feel weak and ends up on the ground due to the damage he suffered. There, he realizes that his face was landed on Persia's lap and asks her what she's doing there, since they were supposed to meet at the fountain. She tells him that she went there to stop him, but that apparently she's late, and tells him that she knows about his brother who's watching him because she suspected their relationship, plus that if he finds out, he'll be expelled, and that she knows that because Hazuki told her. Hazuki made it clear to him that his existence is an abnormality and asks him if he is prepared to cross the path of thorns because Inuzuka did it without hesitation for her. He tries to tell Persia that the expulsion is a joke and talks to her about the gift, but she interrupts him by telling him that she doesn't want it, and that more than a gift, she wants him to be okay, remembering the words he told her about wanting to protect him and apologize to him. The next day, Inuzuka chases Persia. Seeing that she is avoiding him, he ends up cornering her in a corner in a not all subtle way, but she makes it clear that she does not want to see him now, giving her a push and then leaving from there. Hazuki was walking down that hallway with a friend and feels that she stepped on something, realizing that it is Inuzuka. When taking him to the infirmary, she scolds him, although she sees that he has no remedy, seeing him still as a zombie, and because of that, he proposes to skip classes. Going to the game room, Inuzuka asks him if it is okay to continue with that since a hard-working person like her misses classes. Hazuki tells him that there is no problem and that she is not as hardworking as she seems. Inuzuka pretends to arrive at a teacher, which makes Hazuki react quickly with her glasses on, while she makes the excuse that they were not skipping classes but rather studying about life. After that, Hazuki teaches her how to play Viller, where she has to aim at the ball, although he hits one of her melons directly, a mistake that anyone would make. Then they go to pet the sheep, but she is attacked by an entire flock when she tries to feed them. Finally, they go to the bell tower, where Inuzuka saves her by almost falling off the tower, hugging her body in a romantic way. This leaves her very excited, causing her to lose her calm and hit her head against the wall to come back to her senses. On the other hand, Char sees the cookies that Persia made for Inuzuka, but she tries to correct him by wanting to give them to her, and ends up confessing that when she thinks that she will hurt Inuzuka again, she panics and that she doesn't know what to do since she can't even see his face, since she doesn't want them to separate, but wants to be with him forever. We return with Inuzuka and Hazuki. He thanks her since that time together is full of energy, but she tells him that he is lying and that she can see through him beginning to shed tears, seeing that not even she is enough. This makes Inuzuka open his eyes since he has only been worrying her, and what he does is hit himself several times. Char makes his appearance and tells Hazuki that if she likes Inuzuka, she should just take him by slapping his melons and asking him what he thinks those lumps of fat are for. Then he gives the cookies to Inuzuka, explaining that Persia was going to give him those cookies last night. When he leaves there, he tries the cookies and sees how delicious they are. Understanding that Persia was trying hard to learn how to cook, Inuzuka proposes to Hazuki to do their annual tradition, and that it does not matter what happens to his brother. Persia is in a meeting with the representative of the White Cats, and he is informed that the black doggies went there to throw cakes, and they are led by Inuzuka Romio. She runs directly there but is stopped by the representative, who explains to her that she is his target, and that she should not rush in the middle of the cake fight. Inuzuka goes ahead to look for Persia, but on the way he is surprised by Somali and a homeless man. But this one clarifies to him that it is AB, and that what happened to him is due to having been exposed at the sports festival and his faction was dissolved and they kicked him out of the dormitory. Now he lives in the backyard looking for a lifestyle and inner peace. In addition to that, he is sorry for his actions. But this time he will do things right by catching him and taking the credit. What Inuzuka does is insinuate to Somali that AB is jealous since she is hugging him a lot instead of him. That cheap argument is swallowed, causing her to throw herself to hug AB, escaping in that way from them both. At that moment, he is surrounded by the White Cats, but is saved by a subject who takes him up to the roof. He introduces himself as Kate Sith of the second year, making some quite strange movements. After seeing him, Inuzuka simply runs away from there, but Kate follows him and declares that she is interested in him and lets him know that Persia is on the top floor. Suddenly, the prefect arrives, Sieber, scolding Kate for not doing her job well as the prefect and representative of the White Cats. She also explains to Inuzuka that Rex has taken care of her clan and that he should surrender too. Although Kate clarifies that he was just unlucky that they arrived early and that now he must fulfill his duty as their leader. Then we see that Persia was locked by Kate in a room, but when thinking about Inuzuka, she opens the window and sees the ledge. At that moment, Inuzuka is receiving a beating from Kate because he realizes that his fighting level is on par with his brother and that he is nowhere near reaching them, but he takes advantage of a moment by throwing part of his clothes, tying Kate's legs with his belt. What Inuzuka does is flee from there and jump out the window despite being on the third floor, and at that moment he sees Persia extend her hand to him, being saved and losing sight of thee. While that happens, the twins inform Eru that a first-year student broke into Juliet Persia's birthday party, and this makes him head there. Persia tells Inuzuka that she was able to escape by climbing through the window to the balcony, and he asks her why she went there because she was very worried. Inuzuka holds her and wishes her a happy birthday, explaining that she went there because she wanted to tell her that, and clarifies that physical wounds heal with time, but the pain of being rejected by her will never disappear, and that is why he will look for her as many times as necessary. She tells him that when she heard he was there, she was very happy, and that it was a lie that she didn't want to see him, confessing to him that she loves him very much. Persia also realizes that today's incident made her understand things, that instead of running away from the things that hurt them, if they face them together, they can get ahead, and also that she wants to continue by his side from now on. By that moment, Eru has already arrived at the entrance of the White Cats, putting those of her clan in order. The boys try to escape, but are easily stopped by the prefect Rex. Although he tells them that he wouldn't mind letting them go if they surpass them in tenderness, they fail, including Hazuki. But before they do anything to them, Maru appears to save them. Kento and Koetsuji are happy to see him since, according to him, he was not going to attend that attack. Then they believe that he was there because he cared about them, calling him suitor. Maru refuses to do so, but that is enough for Rex to admit that his tenderness is superior and accept his defeat. Suddenly, Inuzuka and Persia appear before everyone, throwing cakes at each other to save face, but Eru makes her appearance and asks him in front of everyone if the person he is involved with is Juliet Persia, explaining that she managed to keep up appearances. And although her surveillance was almost over, she asks him why he ruined everything to escape from the dormitory. Then he realized that he had a reason to do it, and that is to spend time with Juliet Persia on her birthday, and having failed, she broke into the White Cat's house. This leaves everyone confused, although Persia flatly denies these accusations due to lack of evidence. Eru clarifies that she does have evidence, starting with a rosary that Inuzuka had in his room, and asks if in West there is not a tradition where lovers exchange their rosaries. Also, the mark that she drew on her calendar was on the date of her birthday. Finally, she shows the bra that she got in Inuzuka's room, which will make Katru check if it is Persia's size. This causes everyone to turn against Inuzuka. At that moment, Kate arrives who, seeing where they have arrived, wants to hear an explanation from Persia. When they try to be separated, Persia makes her move by taking 2 swords and giving one to Inuzuka, declaring that she wants to resolve things now, although he realizes that those swords are real but is still forced to exchange attacks with her. Persia continues acting by making it clear to him that her pride is as important as her life, and he sees that she is very serious with her attacks, but also the 2 point at each other's chest and launch a final attack which hits directly. This leaves everyone frozen, and even Hazuki screams in fear for him. The boys talk in the hallway while Persia and Inuzuka are in bed, and there it is clear to everyone that they are not really dating once the 2 leave. They suddenly get up seeing that what they did worked and show their broken rosaries, because what they did was let their rosaries receive that final blow, and that they followed that plan with the signal they made with their fingers. If they had not shown enough determination, the representatives would not have moved. Inuzuka remembers that the rosary he has was a gift from Persia on the part of his mother, and that although it was the first gift she gave him, it could not protect something so important, and he apologizes for it. When he looks at her, he realizes that she is crying, but she clarifies that it is nothing, and that she was thinking that this was going to be the end of both of them. He remembers that he has not given her her birthday present yet, and when he shows it to her, he sees that they are some rings, mentioning that he was hesitating whether to give it to her because they cannot use them in front of people, but he has already decided and that he will become a perfect and will start by changing that school. After that, he places the ring on her and tells her that when that happens, he wants her to wear that ring. She reacts by giving him a hug, making it clear that she will wait for him forever, so he must show her how great he can be because he is her boyfriend after all. Such words were enough for Inuzuka's soul of happiness to leave his body, going to heaven itself. The representatives appear before the chiefs of both clans to face the problem that occurred, although Kate was asleep the whole time. They mention that both Inuzuka and Persia were locked in their bedrooms for a week. Inuzuka, after being scolded by Hazuki, tells her that he is indebted to her and thanks her. On the other hand, Char confesses to Persia that it was she who gave that bra to Inuzuka and that he did not expect something like that to happen. Once night falls, Inuzuka and Persia go out to the lake by boat again, and she asks him if he really wants to become perfect. He explains to her that that day he ran into his brother. There he let her know that her doubts about him are not completely cleared up, but that little accident was the result of his negligence, and he is reflecting on it, so he will leave it like that for the moment, so he should not do something like that again. Inuzuka declares to Eru that he plans to become perfect, but his brother does not answer him anything. He explains to Persia that for the moment he will be in charge of the daily tasks. There the twins will take care of him. Gakkou even insinuates that she always knew that he looked at her with those indecent eyes, but Inuzuka answers her not to get her hopes up. Continuing the conversation with Persia, she explains that if she wants to learn about the prefects, it is a good start. And what she does is place the ring on Inuzuka and her own and then encourage him by telling him to try hard. Then she tries to tell him something, but she stays silent, which makes him nervous and causes him to fall into the water asking for help since he doesn't know what to do. Persia holds him by the hand, showing that what she wanted to tell him was that one day, without anyone getting in the way, they will surely be called Romio and Juliet without reservations, thus ending the anime.